Okay, so hi again, everybody. Welcome to the Uplift magazine. It's the Uplift Jewish Women's Magazine. It goes around all over the world. A lot of you know me from my social media or from my podcast. We have so many things going on in the background of the magazine. And this is what tonight's all about. It's about showing where we are, what we want to do, where we want to go, and just explaining to you what has gone on with the Uplift magazine. We also have Gila Rosh, who's going to be our guest speaker, and she's going to give us a little bit of introduction to the month of Adar, and she's part of our magazine, so it's really exciting to speak to her. We're going to show you a small film now so that we could show you about where the magazine came from and where it started. Okay, so the magazine started 2.5 years ago, right after my mother was nifta. My mother was Rebbe Chaiki Rubin. Her name was Chaya Sarah Bas Shlomi Yechiel HaKohen, and she was a Rebbetzin in our community. And she was everything. She wasn't only a Rebbetzin, she was a teacher. She was a keep fit teacher. She was a mentor. She was just so many different things to so many different people. She died right before COVID started, and then when COVID started, a lot of her students and people who knew her were just really lost. So okay, and here we go. Here's the film that we had about her. That's my mother. Her name was Chaiki. I told you, Rebbe Chaiki Rubin, and she, like I say, she was an exercise teacher. She was a guidance counselor. Now, this is when she got married. She was a young lady, very young. She was 16 when she got married, which is amazing if you think about it. And this is later on in her life. This is how she and my father looked. So today's story is all about how she went from a young girl of 16 to the last picture is when she was nifta, right before she was nifta, and how she created a whole life that she met the princes. She met he was a Prince of Wales, but now he's going to become king. They went to the garden parties. My mother was by the President of the United States. She was just everything. And here she was teaching girls bas mitzvah. She was able to have a lot of different roles while always being very modest, beautiful, but very modest. And she always brought across the Yiddishkeit very, very strongly. So what happened when she died and we had COVID started, when people started asking me, where's my mother, what would she do? How would she think? How would she manage? We started a WhatsApp group. And the WhatsApp group was very organic. What we used to do is when people came to ask me a problem, I would say, you know what, why don't you put it on the WhatsApp group, ask other people, see what they have to say, and you'll get an answer. And it was amazing how people really got involved, and they started answering questions, and they started, we would talk about things like, I'm having pain in my stomach. Where do you think it's coming from? And it was like only women. So people would be very, very open and really be able to talk about these things, because people weren't going to their doctors. They weren't meeting with each other, and they were really stuck in their homes. And then what happened was, it came to a point that I decided, this is crazy. We have to do this into something that a person could have notes in their hands and keep it and say, this is what's happening in my life. Or this is, they needed something to hold. So I decided, you know what, we'll start a little bit of a magazine. And I started this magazine as just a little thing that we took. We were going to make it on Canva. I don't know if you know what Canva is, but it's a little app. And I thought, okay, I'll do a few words and it will be fine. And my children said, no way are you going to do that, because we are, my mother would have not wanted that. So I said, fine, we'll do it your way. And I said, you know that I can't do it yet, don't worry. So my kids and my brother's children, we all got together as a family and we decided, okay, we're going to make this into something. And we started very, very small. And unbelievably, I don't know, my mother must be someplace in the back pushing things, because within these 2 years, we have grown with, I mean, way above what we thought it would be. We're now in Los Angeles, we're in Miami, we're in New York, we're starting to cut into Israel, hopefully very, very soon. And now we're just sending a few copies when we could get through to it. We're in London, we're in Manchester. We just really have spread our wings all over. And tonight's evening is all about telling you where we want to go with it, how we want to grow, what our future holds, what we're looking to achieve. But before we do that, I think the most important thing to do is to introduce you to our main speaker, which is Gila Rosh. And hopefully Gila is here. Let's just find.
Hi.
Hi, Gila.
Hi. Yes, I am here, and it is a pleasure to be here, Hani.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you with us. Really, it's a pleasure to have you. I mean, Gila, you write in the magazine at the moment. You've written a few, I think in 3 or in 2 editions, and you have contributed so much in, so, I mean, all your stories are written so beautifully, and so with such a, you know, it has such life in it. And I know that everybody around you wants to know a little bit about you and what you feel about the magazine, and what, you know, introduce yourself to the readers and also to the other writers, which is another thing I want to say. No, none of us have all met yet as a group, because we are so diverse and from so many different places. We have American writers, we have Israeli writers, we have people who are coming from all over the world. So it's amazing that we're all able to be here talking together. So Gila, please start.
So firstly, Hani, I want to say thank you so much for that video, because I had never met your mother, but I felt like through that video I got a sense of a little bit of who she was, and it was really beautiful to be able to see that, and also to kind of see what's driving you behind this, because I love what you're doing with the magazine, and you know, you're not afraid to talk about things that need to be spoken about. You're not afraid to put everything in there. I'm sure, as some of us can relate, you know, to put yourself out there and to put all your energy into a project and you don't know where it's going to go is really, really scary. I'm sure it can be really scary at times. So it's really, really beautiful to see the inspiration behind it, to see your drive. You know, we've done stuff together. As you said, I've written for you. We've done an Instagram live. So I feel like I've gotten to know you over the time, and it's just beautiful to be to see your energy and your passion for offering something real to Jewish women to connect with each other. So firstly, I wanted just to say thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to write and to do it. As you said, I've written, I believe, 2 articles for you, and I've got a 3rd one coming out in the next edition, which reminds me that I know when your deadline is, and please God, I will get it to you in time. And just to be a part of it. So a little bit about myself. My name is Gila Rosh. I've lived in Israel, in Germany, in Vancouver, and in Calgary, and now I moved to Manchester a few years ago. I'm a Rebbitzin and a life coach, which I think is the 2 work very, very well together, because as a Rebbitzin, you're there to help people become the best that they can be, and as a life coach, you kind of take it to the next level and you say, okay, what do you need to do to get there? So that's a little bit of what I do. I have a podcast where I share Torah that's very, very relatable to our lives, as, you know, short nuggets that we can kind of take and take away to our life. And I've just written a book on Pirkei Avos. I believe it is the first book written by an Orthodox Jewish woman on Pirkei Avos, which in Ritz Hashem will be coming out in after Pesach. So, you know, Hani, as I was listening to, and everyone else that's on here, as I was listening to what you were saying about, you know, how the magazine kind of started, I was thinking about Esther, right? We're coming up to the month. We're actually in the month of Adar. Sorry. For anyone else who is with me in the, like, you know, let's pause time a little bit, because I'm not quite ready for the Purim, the Pesach. That's where that was coming from. That, but we actually are in the month of Adar, and coming up, it's the Esther, and the story of Esther. The story of Esther's life is one of the most fascinating and inspirational stories that we can as Jewish women today really relate to. So when it's very interesting, because if you read through the Megillah, and I'll encourage you, when it comes to Purim this year, actually read through the text, and you'll see this will stand out to you. There is something that is really weird going on. What do I mean? Is Mordechai has a conversation with Esther. Mordechai turns to Esther and says, listen, Esther, we have found out that there is a decree that all the Jews are going to be annihilated. It's terrible. You are the one person who is in the position to help the Jewish people. So he turns around to Esther and he says, Esther, I want you to go to the king and ask him to save the Jewish people. And Esther, rightly so, tells him, she says, but I can't. Why? Because, and she has a legitimate reason. She says, listen, we're dealing with Achashverosh. He has a law that if you go into the king unannounced, he can kill you. And we're talking about someone who actually has a track record of killing his wives, right? And she also turns around to him. She says, look, we're Pesach time now, right? We have the decree is coming up next year, Purim. We have 11 months. He hasn't called me for 30 days. Surely it makes more sense to wait until the king calls me, and then I take away that risk. Because what's going to happen is I could go in, he can not invite me in and say, off with your head, and then where are you? Now, I don't know about you, but at that point, if I were the person who was trying to motivate my niece or whoever it is, or someone, to go and do something to save the Jewish people, I can think of a few things I would say. I would say, come on, Esther, you know, we're all relying on you. Come on, Esther, the entire Jewish people is relying on you, right? And what does Mordechai say? And I suspect this is the worst motivational speech in the history of the world, right? What does he say? He says to her, he says, listen, Esther, the Jews are going to be saved. But how do you know, if not for this very moment, that you were put into the palace? Now, I want to say something. Like, firstly, it's like, seriously, if you're going to tell me, if I'm Esther and I'm listening that, you're going to tell me the Jews are going to be saved anyway, I'm out of here. I'm not risking my life for it. What on earth is he talking about? And we have to understand something, is that Mordechai, you know, sometimes when someone's going through a tough time, right, and you don't quite know what to say, you can turn around to them and say, it's okay, it'll be okay, right? Or someone else will say that to you when you're going through a tough time. Now, Mordechai was not like that, because Mordechai, you know, it's not a very helpful thing to say to someone. So how could Mordechai have the chutzpah to turn around to her and say, the Jews are going to be saved? How did Mordechai know that? So here's the thing. Mordechai knew that because he knew that there is a promise that there will always be a Jewish people. We have a promise, right? And that is why today, when we talk about the Jewish continuity and what is going to be for the Jewish people, we have to understand the question is not, is there going to be a Jewish future? Because we have a promise. Hashem promised us there will always be a Jewish future. So why risk it, right? So then if it's going to be saved, why risk it? So this is what Mordechai tells her. This is what Mordechai tells her. He says, and the answer is for us as well, there is a promise that there would always be a Jewish future. But you know where the question is? What's going to be your place in that Jewish future? And he turns to Esther and he says, Esther, listen, you know, you can play by the rules and you can play by the things, but there will be a Jewish future. There will be savior. But there's no guarantee that, number one, you're going to be saved. And there's no guarantee that maybe this is the moment in your life where you are put here to come up and to become Esther, the role model for Jewish history for all women. And Esther understood his message. And it was at that moment that she went from being Esther, the niece of Mordechai, who listened to everything he said, who risked her life and turned the whole Purim story around and saved the Jewish people. And Chani, when I heard your story, You know, I've been involved in Jewish community stuff. I can't imagine how much work goes into putting out a magazine, but I can imagine how scary and how crazy it is to take on a project like that, right? It's like you're risking it, right? Am I going to get the content in? Am I going to get the money to publish it? Am I going to get it out to it? Are people going to like it? Hundreds of questions, I'm sure, are all going through your things, your mind. But Hani hears that, right? Because Hani knows there is going to be a Jewish future. She knows that. But the question is, what's our place going to be in the Jewish future? And Khani's going to go down in the Jewish history as someone who started something to connect Jewish women, to talk about the things that need to be spoken about, right? To give women, Jewish women, the connections to each other, to ourselves, to Hashem, to everything. And it's a beautiful thing to watch and be a part of. So thank you so much, Khani, for allowing me a small part in this. Thank you.
First of all, Gila, you just brought tears to my eyes. Last part of that, thank you very, very much. It's nice to know that I'll go down in history as something. But really, you all inspire me. That's the truth. This whole thing is inspired by the people who have gotten involved. I cannot get over how I have met people who I have never in a million years thought I would meet. And it all started from such a little place. It started when I put up a little note on my LinkedIn status. I don't know if you all remember this, but I put up a little note and I was just saying that my mother died and I'm trying to make this magazine. And it was like I think it was a little bit tear jerking or something, because I seem to have gotten a few people involved. And I think one of the first people who came on that day was Rosalie Schatzman. Rosalie, would you wave your hand so that you could show yourself? So Rosalie is our resident nutritionist in the magazine. We have a few people who write about nutrition in different areas, but Rosalie has been there from the very, very onset of this magazine, this project. And I really wanted her to just say a bit about what she feels this magazine has done for her personally, and for what she sees the growth has been. I think it's really important that we all note what's gone on and how this has grown. So Rosalie, if you don't mind, if you can unmute yourself and say hi.
Hi, everybody. I'm very, very happy to be here, to finally see all the faces that go with the names. I was trying to think what it was that got me connected to Khani in the beginning. And I think it was just her honesty and her goodness, and how real she was. She was one of the first people I connected with on LinkedIn as well. It was all new to me. I knew nothing about social media when I first got started. And here I saw a wonderful opportunity to become involved in the Jewish community, the Jewish women's community, to help uplift women. And when Khani asked me to write for Uplift, I had never written an article before. And I said, why not? Why not stretch out of my comfort zone? Why not do something that could be productive? And I haven't looked back. It's been a wonderful experience. I've done so much since I started writing for Uplift in other areas of my life as well. I think that was the impetus to push me forward and to start reaching out and doing things that I had never thought possible. Uplift is so much more than just a magazine. I actually looked at the first magazine that was written, my first article. It wasn't that great. It was okay, but I think I've developed along the way. And something very interesting, I took a quote from Khani that she wrote in the introduction. She said, it was her hope that this magazine will become a friend and that it will be able to make a lasting, real-time connection through it. And I think it's way surpassed that. I think we've become friends, we've become supporters, we've uplifted each other, and Khani has just done and shown us what it means to do chesed from the bottom of your heart with wanting nothing in return. And I'm just so proud to be a part of it.
Thank you so much, Rosalie. And we're really proud to have you on my thing. I think it's really important for me to say one thing. This is not about Chani tonight. This is really not about Chani. I'm Chani, I've done this fine, but I have never done this on my own. My whole family has been involved. I have nieces, I have some of them write, I think most of them are writing. We have Chomi Bornstein, she writes in the magazine. We have Tzipi Schmidt, we have Yocheved Rivka Kaplovich. She's the one who does the middle, the section that we call the journal part. Not everybody loves it, and some people love it and some people don't, but it's there because there is such a need to keep a reckoning of what you are doing, what your life is going to be, what you've done. Look, yesterday I did something. I might feel horrible today, but yesterday I achieved something. So today I have another chance to achieve that. I think that's so important for us all to know and to keep in us. We're so scared of, oh, we're not doing enough. We're not doing enough. We're women, we're supposed to get up in the morning, be on the run until the night and do. But that really isn't real life. Real life is if you did one thing that day that you're proud of, I'm happy. I'm happy. I don't know about you guys, but I'm definitely happy. If I just achieved one great thing, I'm just really satisfied with myself. And I continuing to thank the family. I have my daughter Chomi, who does all the graphics in the magazine, and we have my daughter-in-law and her husband and my other son. Everybody is really involved in it, and it's really a family. A family's love to their grandmother, to the mother. That's what this was all about. But I'd like to just, there's a few more people here that I would love them to just wave their hand, even if we don't get to speak to each of you, but I would love you all to raise your hand as I call your name so that people could get to know who is behind, who's writing in the magazine, just to give you a clear picture of what the magazine is. So we have Jackie Edry. Jackie, would you say hi to that's Jackie. Jackie wrote the most fantastic, first of all, book, and she wrote a fabulous article. So Jackie, hi. And then we have, I see, then we have Chani Yaroslavich, and she is sitting and crocheting, and she'll tell you in a few minutes why she's crocheting. But that's Chani. We have also Sarah Hollingworth. Sarah, wave. That's Sarah. Sarah's written a few really, really good articles for us. Also, and she's always sending in stuff in the background. And then we have, let me see who else. We have Karen Redlich, and she's also very part. Then we have Denise Phillips. Denise is not going to be able to wave because she's blanked out, but she's very much part of our team. We have Melanie Berenblatt. Melanie, could you? Very good. Actually, Denise, will at the end on our website, we're going to have one of Denise's recipes, and you could download it for to keep to make hamantashen. We have Pearl Lopian. Pearl, would you please? Okay, Pearl is an expert tapper. We have so many. We have Rella Adler. Rella Adler always is in the background helping. We have Aliza's iPhone. Now, I think Aliza is, I'm not sure. We have two Alizas, but one is a background Aliza. One is the editor of the art section. Our art section is unbelievable. I don't know if you've all had a chance to look through it, but it is unbelievable. It has so much different people and different artists. We always are featuring great people on it. Okay, I'd just like to ask Karen if you would mind opening up, unmuting yourself and opening up your camera. There you are, Karen. So Karen has written for us, and I think, Karen, your article touched on something that is really important in our magazine, which is the sandwich generation coping with the elderly, coping with children. It's just so much going on in our lives at this stage in life that I think that your articles and your whole outlook really helps that. So if you could just tell us a little bit about what you do.
So I'm a social worker and I have two major roles. I am a psychotherapist for women over 18. And I also place aides, companions, and nurses with seniors. So I do a lot of work with adult children of seniors, and I help them navigate their relationships with each other. And that's a big part of my clientele.
Did that again. How do you feel that, like, your relationship with the the magazine and yourself, how do you feel that I know we met once, I think we had a meetup in Miami, in Muncie. So
Right.
if you could just say about that a little bit, just that people should know what we're doing in the background, and then I'll go more into that.
Sure. So we had a wonderful meetup when Khani came with your daughter Homi, and we all met as a group of contributors and colleagues, and we all met together, and it was very impactful. It was very connecting and supportive, and it was a really nice experience, and it helped us feel like we were part of an important project, which we are, which, Uplift magazine is very important because it helps everyone. I just want to say, like, Uplift magazine has become a conversation piece because, like, I'll go away and I'll bring it with me and people want to read it and then they take it. They don't have it. So, then I can't find it. So, Khan, you're going to have to send me a couple of new ones. But everyone wants it. So people enjoy it, men and ladies, and the husband and the wife, they both want to read it. So they're both, everybody's enjoying it and getting a lot out of it. They're learning from it and getting inspired from it.
Oh, great. Thank you very, very much.
Sure.
Okay, and let me just tell you about this part of this meeting part. So what's my future plans? I think this is really important because people just think that I'm just sending out these like magazines onto the shelves. This is, by the way, one of them. We're just sending them onto the shelves and that's it. But that's not really what this is about. This is really about building a community. And the community is one that is inclusive of every Jewish woman who wants to be included. That's what it's about. It doesn't have a black hat. It doesn't have a strimal. It doesn't have a blue shirt, a yellow shirt. We're not like that. That's not what this is about. This is about a bunch of women who are really interested in their Judaism, in their Yiddishkeit, and they want to work on a sisterhood, on a conglomerate of a bunch of women who have voices and who could achieve a really lot of stuff that we don't even realize. So that's my view. So how do I envision doing it? Well, I've done one thing we've done a big show in LA, and at that show we had an art show. We had two speakers who came who were part of the magazine who lived in that area. We had, and then we had the women of the community. And what we did was we opened up a discussion, and something, the discussion was supposed to be for 1.5 to 2 hours. We thought maybe. We didn't finish until 12:30 at night. It was supposed to be by 11, everyone was out, the latest. And the reason that we went on is because people opened up in such a raw way. It was just, I was actually flabbergasted. I could not believe that we had opened up and warmed to each other so quickly and so deeply. And I think that that's really what's missing in our, in our culture, especially after the COVID pandemic, because what happened is we were in our house, we got used to it. It was quite nice, if you think about it. It wasn't nice because we were sick and whatever, we couldn't go out, but there were some parts that were quite positive. The positive thing was that we I call it, we cuddled up under our blankets, you know, in our family unit, or in our four walls, and we got used to that a little bit. So now when the world reopens, okay, now we have this community, we have Zoom, which is a godsend because we are sitting here tonight on Zoom only because of really COVID, because people didn't realize how to even use this contraption. You know what I mean? It took me ages to learn how to use this. But if you think about it, this is where we connected. And I want to do that in real time too. I want different communities to make these type of meetings that we could get together as women, talk about things that really matter to us, things that make us worry, things that, you know, things that we care about, and say it openly and have normal conversations about it. We don't have to fight. We just want to talk. We want to express our worries and our hopes, and we all have generations to come. And hopefully, if we set this in motion now, you know, if we start this now, could you imagine what the next generation is going to say? Wow, I remember my grandmother or my mother going to that group. And I remember her having that discussion. And I remember seeing when she came back, how buzzed she was. And, you know, I want that too. And I want that to continue. I want us to be able to give over this positivity in Judaism, because there is so much positivity. It just, we're not always talking about it. We're not always seeing it. And I think that is really the most important part of what my message is all about, is not only having a magazine, it's about communities. It's about setting up these once a month. I hope we're going to be continuing this on a Rosh Chodesh. I think the next one I wanted to try to do it on the 20th of next month. But this is where I'm, you know, heading. So I actually will need all of you to be part of that by inviting us into your communities, by getting us to come, and I'm sure we'll be able to work that out together. I wanted to bring one of what we're doing next in the magazine. So there's loads of different sections that we're starting to write about. So what we're going to be doing is one called Kol Isha. Kol Isha is a very big thing at the moment. The voices and singing and tunes in music of women. Now, it was always that way, that women did sing in choirs and in places, and they were, you know, they used to sing together, and people did know about them. But it was very, very, you went to a show in your neighborhood and that's what you saw. Today, the voices are going more viral. Now, it's great, but there's also there's borderlines, and the borderlines are what we call the Kol Isha society. They have these borders. They make sure that when they're singing, they are only singing to the women. They're really strong about their religious backgrounds and their community guidelines, but we're getting to know them better. So that we're going to make a section in the magazine that has a different voice every time, and hopefully you'll get to know the singers and the actresses and what's going on in the community that way. Then we're having another section, and that is where I'm going to bring in the lovely Chani Yaroslavich. And Chani is going to tell us why she's knitting, because we're going to be opening up a Chani Yaroslavich unmute. Okay, so what we're doing is we're going to be having a section called Home Crafts, and she is going to be involved in trying to get people involved in that. You know, every magazine has a home craft section. Well, we need that too. So, Chani, could you let us know about that?
Yeah, you couldn't wait till I finished binding off. Now I had. So, Connie and I are walking buddies too, and we're always trying to come up with different ideas and things that we can add that will enhance things for people. And we were talking about the theme of the upcoming issue, and I'm knitting. but my children all have Yerusha blankets from grandmothers that were crocheted, some were knit. We have some even that were my grandmother's handwork. And so to follow the theme of what's your Haggadah, what's the legacy you're giving over to your children, Emet Hashem, I'm almost done on this one. And the second one is at its beginning stages, and Chani gave me a deadline. So there will, Emet Hashem, be 2 blanket patterns in the Pesach issue. And they say that knitting is a very relaxing thing. I think when you're not trying to make a pattern, it is relaxing. And so it's a good thing to do in between cleaning. And those of us who have Israeli apartments to clean, there's a lot of stress at the very end, but there's not a whole lot you can do way up front. When I lived in the States, I started cleaning for Pesach and Hanukkah.
Okay, all right, we don't want that. Don't want that. That's out of.
But now you have a side, you have something to do before or after. I can't clean yet.
Okay. But Chani, I want to just say one more thing about Chani, because I really credit my magazine for this. Chani's daughter, Leah, just got engaged to my best friends in London's son, and it all came about through the Uplift community.
Right.
So I am really proud of that one. So I always call it my Uplift shidduch. Now, how that came about was, we have a WhatsApp group, and I would love you all to, join that WhatsApp group. Whoever is on it, if you put a smile or something on the face, that would be great. But it's just an amazing group. What it is women from all over the world. We just have schmoozes. Sometimes it's empty. Sometimes nobody writes anything. And then all of a sudden, somebody writes a comment about her shoes, and then everyone gets up. I know everyone's all right, I also have that too, or I also have that problem. Or somebody will say, what should I do? I remember there was once somebody actually asked, her child was very, very lonely. He was in class, he had just changed schools, and he was in a classroom, and he felt like he wasn't being accepted. So this woman said, what should I do? How can I help him? And this whole conversation started, and the conversation went into that they're going to do, she should invite all his friends for a party in her house. Now, a few weeks later, she did that, and she actually added to the conversation later on, and she said, I did that party, and thank God my son is really acclimatizing himself in the classroom. So it's things like that that we're discussing. So afterwards, we will put the name, the number and everything on. Whoever wants to join could join. And if you find that it's too much for you, you can either silence us or you could go off. I never take anything to heart. I understand we all have lives. Yes, you want to join. No, you don't want to join. Nobody's taking this. Nobody means anything, want any harm. So don't worry. And another thing I always say is, sometimes somebody will say something on the group, and somebody else will, they'll send me a message privately. How could she say that? And I always say, we are here as a group of women who love each other. We only mean well. You cannot be on an uplift group if you don't want to be uplifting. Am I right? 100%. I don't even have to ask you that. But if you're not uplifting, then you shouldn't be there. So I always say nobody meant anything. All they did is said it in the wrong tone. And every time you write something, it doesn't come with your voice. So your voice comes across slightly differently. So sometimes somebody will say something that hurts you, and she didn't really mean anything. So just remember that if you do join our group. All right, so now I'm going to do, we have a few speakers who are speaking from far, and they are not able to join us tonight, but they sent in, specific messages about what they feel, the uplift could give, further, because what we're trying also to do is get a bunch of ambassadors. Now, what is an ambassador? I mean, an ambassador means, let's say we have, I'm just going to take Rosalie, because Rosalie's been with me from the beginning, and she is my ambassador without even knowing it. But let's say, or Chani, these are two people's names that I'm not scared will get, will say, oh, I'm not doing that. Okay. Rosalie and Hani. Okay, so this is what an ambassador would do. An ambassador would talk about the magazine, have a magazine in her house, show it to people, show it to her Rebbitzin, show it to the shops around her. We just want you to talk about it, because I really, really feel that every home needs this, this magazine. Not only this magazine, I think every home needs the group of it, the home, the feeling of the sisterhood of it. So that's what we would like to create. And I think it's called ambassadorship or something. We'll come up with a really good name for that. I would like to call on 3 people tonight.
I was really excited to hear about this virtual Uplift magazine event. And then I realized that I'm unavailable to attend as I am traveling. But I couldn't miss it. So here I am with this pre-recorded video so I can introduce myself and tell you what the Uplift magazine means to me. My name is Dalia Brunswick, and I am a certified nutrition health coach and founder of Fully in Balance, where I help Jewish women identify their blind spot, preventing them from losing weight and feeling great. How do I do that? By guiding them to listen to the body signals with the power of real foods, including all food types. You might have read some of my articles in the past magazines, where I focus on balance and how you don't need to fit in when you were born to stand out. We are all unique, and we all need different things. Also, different things uplift us in different stages in our lives. And I feel honored to be part of this Uplift magazine, which covers so many relevant, important topics that affects us as Jewish women. I enjoy very much being a reader of the Uplift magazine, but also to be a contributor with my articles and placing ads for my programs. It has opened new connections and opportunities with readers from all around the world wanting to hear more about what I do and how I could help them find balance with nutrition and life the Jewish way. For me, it is important to help people with the Derech Eretz. Working with the magazine has been a privilege. Hani, the chief editor, is full of life, seeing the positive and always moving forward no matter what, always besimcha, and want to take this opportunity to connect this positivity to Adar as we start this new month of Simcha. How can you reach your level of Simcha? By being positive, grateful for what you have, and uplifting yourself and others, just like the Uplift magazine is doing, issue after issue, getting better and better each time, moving on. Is it easy? Not always. Is it worth it? Definitely. To Hani and her team behind the scenes, thanks for having me as part of your dream and uplifting others with my articles and everybody else's articles. Chodesh Tov, everyone, and keep on spreading the joy this new month, uplifting everybody around you. Thanks for having me.
Now we have
Hani, hi, Miriam Lieberman from JWoww here. Thanks for inviting me to be part of your program. Quite an honor and a privilege. May this be as a chos for your dear mother, memory of your dear mother, Rebbetzin Chaiki Rubin. What a wonderful program you've created in her memory. I'm sure she is soaring high above. So, Hani, you're a real visionary, very much in keeping with our mission at JWoww, Jewish Woman of Wisdom. We also appreciate the fact that women need to connect and to move forward. We need the encouragement and the enthusiasm, inspiration we get from one another. It's a very, very powerful tool as we go through life. I'd like to share just a short Dvar Torah about Adar. We're approaching Rosh Chodesh. Adar actually is now already tonight. Rabbi Yoshua Schmidman says that, the fish is the symbol of Adar. And interesting, the fish has a fin and the scales, the signs of kashrus. The scales hold the fish back, but the fins propel it forward. And he says that as Yidden, as Jews, we value history, learning from the past, but at the same time we invest in the future. We find that also, we talk about Purim Bayamim Hahim Bazman Hazeh. These days, at this time, the lessons from years back, we need them in order to shoot forward. We're living in a very multi-dimensional life, taking strength from the past, but then gathering the strength in order to move forward. And we remember how Esther advised Lech Kenosa Kol HaYehudim, in order to accomplish anything, we really need to join together. And that's what we're doing. What we're doing at JWOW, what you're doing with your Uplift, and it's truly very, very uplifting. Fegi Horowitz, one of my colleagues at JWOW, along with Miriam Hendelis, sent out recently, she'd written a wonderful article that appeared in a local Five Towns paper talking about relationships entitled, "Do Call Them, They Won't Call You." She talks about how it's appropriate even to make phone calls and contact relatives, even if you know they won't reciprocate. We have to do our share. It's our need. As Figgy says, I'm still in the process of adjusting to the lack of reciprocity and accepting that it's my need and my want to connect, because we know that's what's important in order to keep our family strong, to keep our community strong. It's up to us. Can't wait for others, but we have to do our share. So, Chani, you are certainly doing your share. And I see in your last uplift, you talk about what the future looks like, and it's looking very, very bright indeed. And I wish for you mazel and bracha for all of your entire membership, for your family. May we all continue to go from chayil to chayil. And as a group, we can accomplish so much more. And we know that no man is an island unto himself, but we really do need each other. And as I read through the Uplift magazine, I felt so connected to women across the pond. Is that how you would refer to it in England, across the pond? It definitely expanded my world, and it just felt terrific. So huge yasher koach to you, Chani, continued mazel and bracha, and may this month of Adar, the month of mazel, bring simchas to you, to all of Klal Yisrael, to all Achenu Kol Beis Yisrael. Take care and very, very best. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
This is Natalie Garson. She is the founder of JWE, which is a Jewish Women's Entrepreneurs, as you know, I cannot say that word, network, and it's a global network. And me and her have been involved for quite not so long, actually, a few months, 3 months, 4 months. And I really would have loved to have you by this, the event on Rosh Chodesh Adar, but being that you can't come, I really would love it if you could just give a few words and say how you feel that the Uplift magazine group, how we've helped you and how you've worked with us and how I've worked with you. And, just give everybody a little bit of an idea.
Sure. Thank you so much, Chani. And I'm really sorry I can't make it for the event. I would have loved to be with you live, but I'm happy we can do this. Yeah, we've been in contact not too long, you're right. I think it's really a few months at most. And I have to say, from the first time that we connected and we decided, let's get on a call and see how we can do things together. You've been so dynamic, so engaging, and I can see how this project Uplift is so dear to your heart and how you're helping so many people with this project. And I see how as soon as you started coming in the network, in the global network, the Jewish Women Entrepreneurs Global Network, you've brought in new people, you've posted on LinkedIn. It seems like you have, from what I see, is you have a very, very engaged network of people that are following you, that are listening to you. You have a voice. You're kind of an influencer. I think that's what we can say.
I just have to, hold on, I have to take the selfie then,
Yeah, exactly. You have to take the selfie. So I know that we are going to do great things together. And I think that anyone who comes into the Uplift community or, into the Uplift magazine and works with you can really see a big exponential growth of, their business and whatever they're doing. I think that you have this power, you're very dynamic, and it could only bring, blessing and good things to be connected with you and with the Uplift magazine. So
you're so sweet. And Natalie, I'm really looking forward to continue connecting. We have so many plans between us.
Yes.
Can't even start talking about, but we have so many strategic plans that are going to be fabulous for the whole Uplift community and the whole business community, which is really important. So thanks for joining me today.
You're very welcome, and enjoy the event.
Okay, back to you guys. I just want to say what I feel the actual magazine is about. It's about a conversation between two friends. That's what it is. It's, you know, I one day wake up, my head is killing me. I just can't do it today. It's just not my day. And I call up my friend and I'll have a nice conversation and she'll cheer me up. And that's exactly what I feel the magazine should be. It's a conversation that you have with your best friend. And that's all I always say, that's what it should, you know, it should say that, the conversation between me and my best friend when I'm feeling really horrible or when I'm feeling great and I want to celebrate and I want to talk about things. And I just don't even know how to stop talking about things. That's exactly what it is. It's a conversation. Jewish magazine, that's a woman to woman, completely woman to woman magazine. That means that all our writers are women and we're always talking to the women. So we have so much of an opportunity to bring these voices. I mean, I see tonight that we have somebody here from South Africa. Am I right? Raise your hand, Mrs. South Africa. Is that Hillary Kushner? Hi. We have such a vast world of people. And, you know, we want to bring them to everybody so that everybody could get to know you all and to see how, you know, where you come from, what are you living with? What's the anti-Semitism around your area? How are you coping with it? These are things that we really need to know, want to know, and this is where we're going to be sharing. We also actually have so much space in our magazine for advertising. Now, some people have said to me, oh, well, you know, you're going all over. Well, it's not niched enough, but that's not true because there are so many businesses that could reach out worldwide. And today we have computers that we could do virtual things. So advertising in the magazine is a perfect spot to be. So if you know people who would want to advertise, please let them know because it's really, really good. You know, it will help the magazine grow for sure because the money will keep it flowing. And that's being honest with you guys. And, you know, it's really important for the growth of the community that we should keep on reaching new and more people. So we're having special rates for advertising until the 28th of February. After that, we are going to be changing our prices. So if you want to advertise or if you know somebody who wants to advertise, please let them know. We're going to share all of that at the end. We're also having a survey, right? We're going to ask you to please fill it out. There'll be, I think there's a prize involved in that too. So we just want to hear all your thoughts. Okay, so now what we're going to be doing, the next stage is we're going to have breakout rooms. And the breakout rooms are going to be quite a lot of fun because each one of you will be in a group, I think, of 3 to 4 people, not more. And we want you to have a good time at this. Hi, I just want to let everyone know what we are doing together for the next magazine because you have another week to enter it. We have a fabulous competition and it's called Capture It. And what it is a competition just to take a picture of any moment in your time, any moment in your day, anything except a person. So what I want you really is to see nature, to see your kitchen, your cup of water, and think to yourself, what has it did for me and what does it mean? Anyway, that's what it's all about. Just a picture you send in and we're hopefully going to use it someplace in the magazine. And I really would love you to all take part in it.
Where is the podcast that we made? How do
that's okay. So that's another thing we didn't discuss yet. We have the podcasts. The podcasts are fantastic. I have some really fun guests and they come from, we don't speak about anything in particular. We speak about everything in not particular, you know, everything that pertains to Jewish life, to Jewish women. We always speak about something else. Anyways, you can find it on, we will put the links at the bottom of this, but you can find it on YouTube under the Uplift magazine. That's the name of the podcast channel. And if you press to become a subscriber, you'll always hear when there's a new one up. I try to do one a week. Now, tonight's guest speaker, if you saw on all the leaflets we had, was supposed to be Sarah Pachter. Sarah Pachter is a prolific writer, and I have a whole podcast with her coming up. in this week. At the end of this week, hopefully it will be up. So look out for that. It's really nice. It's really interesting, and I think you'll all enjoy it. Okay, now let's, before we finish up, each of you have people in your network. If you could just like get them involved, that would be great. The next issue should be coming out right before Pesach. I never give an exact date because it never goes to plan. So I'm better off saying it's coming out before Pesach. So that's the best I could do for you. And you could pre-order it if you want. If you make a subscription, then you're sure you'll get it, and it's delivered to your house. And it's so much easier that way than running around looking for it. Especially, Karen, then you don't get, you know, all those problems with it's sold out. I know it gets sold, it gets given away in your house. You have to tell them from now on, you got to buy a copy, lady. Anyway. Okay, we can't hear you. You're on silent. Okay, and remember that the 28th of February is the last day of the advertising. So before we finish this evening, and it's been a wonderful evening, it really has. And you should know something, it's really interesting. I'm just going to end it off with, I told him I won't say it, but it really is to me very interesting that tonight happens to be the end of my husband's year for his mother. And, you know, I had a mother-in-law and I had a mother. Both of them are not here anymore. But it's interesting, there were two very separate types of women. My mother was this complete powerhouse. That's all I could say. I mean, anyone who knows her knows that I'm saying the truth. She was a powerhouse. And my mother-in-law was different. She was like an older woman. She was, for years and years, she was an almana, and she was very quiet. And she ran her home very quietly. She was smart. She was fantastic, but she was very, very quiet. So she was totally different than my mother. And I always wonder, you know, they got along like a house fire. They like each other. They really got along. And when I needed, let's say, a hand in advice or something, I would ask my mother, but I would also ask my mother-in-law. And the funny thing is, they would give me very different maybe advice, but they both gave me advice I can always follow. And I think that this is what a Queen Esther is. A Queen Esther is not just, you know, it's not the picture that we have in wearing a crown and she's very pretty. And, you know, how when the little kids get dressed up for Purim, their vision of Queen Esther is the little crown on the head, walking around with the white bridal gown. It's not that way. The truth is, we are all a Queen Esther. We are the Queen Esther of our own home. We're the Queen Esther who gets up in the morning, puts on her hair, her sheitel, her tichel, her whatever she puts on her head, or whatever she doesn't put on her head. It doesn't make a difference. But what she is she looks in the mirror and she says, you know what, today I'm going to be. I'm going to just be. And I'm going to be whoever I am. I could be the quiet girl. I could be the very loud person. I could be the doer. I could be the receiver. It doesn't make a difference. You just have to be the Jewish woman who's ready to go out and be a product of Hashem. That's the only way I could describe it, because that is what we are. We are, Hashem is in us, and we have to reflect that. And the only way we reflect it is by being kind, by being uplifting, by being positive, by trying our hardest. And even when we're not positive, it's by being. We just have to exist in our own best image. That's what I feel. So I'm just going to say thank you to Naomi, because without her, this whole thing would have never, ever happened. And I know she wanted to be in the background. And I don't know if she minds me saying if she could come out, but if she can't, that's fine with me too. I just really want to thank you, Naomi, for everything. And I know that your future plans for the magazine are way, way beyond anything I thought it would be able to be. So I thank you for pushing me and helping me to realize what a great community we have here.